Good morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
On your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guest this morning early, is Arif Halaby of Total Financial Solutions.
Hey, Arif,
welcome, sir.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. What are we talking about today, sir?
Well, there's a couple of things that we want to be very careful about these days, as we're seeing a bit more of an uptick in it. When we talk about retirement, Total Financial Solutions, our company is retirement-based. That's kind of what we do. But because of my background in law enforcement of nearly 11 years and some of the things we've done where we work on, testify against, and hopefully put bad guys away by working with law enforcement, here's what seems to pop up now and again. Two big things. Number one, Medicare, your Medicare card is just as valuable as your credit card, or more so.
Really?
Don't let it out of your sight. We're seeing when people go to the doctor's office or they go to work with folks, nobody should be asking for your Medicare card unless it's a medical professional or they work for an office of a medical professional. Because often seniors are giving their Medicare cards. You wouldn't give them a $200 bill, $200 in cash. You wouldn't give them, $500 and just say, hold on to this money and I'll trust you when you bring it back. That Medicare card, that's right. The Medicare card is blue, red, and white. Okay? Your number matters. Not only that, but your Social Security number is a big part of this.
Absolutely. It's right on there.
That's right. So keep in mind, you guys, I don't want you to be in a position to where that Medicare card is used. Here's why. Because they can and do claim benefits against your information. What we're seeing time and again is a lot of illegal aliens, a lot of people that are here illegally are still using Medicare. You're like, how could they do that? They've never paid in. They're not. Well, because they are attaching to the different Medicare plans that other people have. Just like they would use your Social Security number to work at a restaurant or work at a farm or work at a warehouse, people are using your Medicare number to seek treatment. And doctors sometimes don't even care. They just want to put a number down and get paid. So there's some mechanisms in place to keep this from happening, at least from getting too bad, but it doesn't always work. So protect that Medicare card. Every time if you are 65 or older, the scam is pretty significant. We got to be careful.
Absolutely. And you have your name on the card, and whenever there is a service that is charged to Medicare, that should come back to you as your EOB. And when you're getting information in the mail from Medicare, you need to open it up and make sure that the services that have been provided and have been provided are on those sheets. If you see something that is abnormal, that needs to be reported.
That's right.
And if you don't do that, there are times where there are credits that are put against your Medicare card that you could sometimes run out of that benefit. So you really have to be careful and report it. So don't, just because it comes in the mail, I know what's in it, and push it off to the side. And open the letter up and make sure it coincides with what you and your doctor and any testing that you may have had is on those sheets. And if there isn't, that could be fraud.
Yeah, be very careful when you're giving it to folks at mobile clinics. We're seeing that, where a mobile clinic is really designed just as a gathering tool of your credit card, or in this case, your Medicare card information. We're seeing it where they are using, on occasion, these 800 numbers. Come and call us and get your medical device, right? Your cane or your walker or your back brace.
The durable medical equipment is the biggest fraud and breach
Big time.
of Medicare.
Big time. So you're going to see that sometimes you call them up, you're like, that's great, I qualify, I would need it. My doctor, what's your doctor's name? Oh, Joe Smith, got it, okay. Put it all down, and you never get your device.
And sometimes it's like a replacement for an amputation.
That's right.
It's your lower leg, and you go, hey, I have both my legs right now. Why am I getting a lower leg? Yeah, it's obvious that it's not for you.
That's right. So you will see time and again, you guys, that these replacement equipment, these mobile clinics, just make sure. So here's what you do to make sure. If you say, oh, the mobile clinic is coming to a community near me, a community center, the senior center, usually the senior center, those kinds of places, they do due diligence. But just in case, I want you to call the number on the phone, on the side. Now, listen, I can have a phony phone number put on the side of any kind of vehicle, and that vehicle will call my mom, and my mom says, oh, yeah, Arif's a great guy. So I don't want you to just call that number. I want you to Google that company independently. That's how you double check. Find out if the company is legitimate, number one. How long have they been in business? It's just like when somebody Facebook friends you, right? And it's a person who's smiling, and you're like, this is weird. I don't know who this person is. Scroll down and see how long they've had a Facebook account. If it's been, 2 weeks, it's probably just a scam. I don't want you friending somebody on Facebook that has been around for 2 or 3 weeks and you don't know who they are, because that's another way that they can start to draw out your information. They learn about you. Oh, you have this condition, you have that condition. So if I double bill on this one, you will never know it.
That's right.
Whoa.
That's right. You're providing a lot of information. A lot of people are saying, oh, I've been ill, I was in the hospital, I had pneumonia or this or that, and they pick up on that. They'll charge off on respiratory treatments or physical therapy and things like that when it's, you didn't get it, but it's there in your Facebook record, and they're going to use that against you and charge against you.
As seniors are becoming more and more familiar with social media, be very careful about what you put on there, and here's why. I don't mind you sharing with your friends, of course, your family, but keep it in a tight knit. Don't just share to the open public. Because one of the reasons that seniors get taken advantage of is often when somebody passes away. And what they'll do is they'll come into your life, scammers will, because they just saw that your husband or your wife passed away. They suffered from a particular disease. And they will call up and say, oh, my wife died from Alzheimer's as well. And you're like, oh my gosh, we have something in common. Oh, my husband passed away. Listen, women have been tempting men since the beginning of dawn. Don't think because you're a senior and she's a senior, right? Young people that are scammers become old people that are scammers. So it's not
right.
Don't think, you guys, that, oh, well, she's so sweet. No. She was a crook when she was 20. She was a crook when she's 40. She's a crook when she's 60, guys. So be very careful of how you lay things out. The last thing that we have is some of you may have parents that are older. And I have seen that there has been an uptick in younger women with older men, and they are there for the money. Now, I know before you feel like you need to be blown over with a feather, this isn't just beginning. This has
been going on for years.
This is the beginning of time.
Millennium.
Yes.
And understand, if your dad wants companionship and he has his faculties, it's okay.
That's right.
Right? If he says, listen, I understand that it's a younger lady. I understand she's going to get the house and you kids already are on your way and you have grandchildren. So you don't need my house, but you don't come and visit me every day. She meets my physical and emotional needs. She takes care of me. Maybe I'm on this earth 6 more months or 6 more years. So understand that there's a fine line to be careful. And Doctor, you've probably seen this.
Absolutely. Day in and day out.
I don't know the answer, but just be cognizant of the fact that you as a child of a senior or an aging parent, they're not always being ripped off when, and ready for some numbers? A 36-year-old lady is married to a 72-year-old, one of my clients. A 28, this is just the other day, a 28-year-old on a 75-year-old client, male, female, right? 40-year-old, right? Okay, 40. It's not a teenager, 40, with an 81-year-old man. Now, everybody looks and says, oh, we know the story. Oh, yeah, wink, wink, and everybody gets it. But
They need a father.
And that's right.
A father figure.
That's often the case.
That's a lot of it, yes.
But don't forget that there's that there's your mom or your dad is a human being that needs, and he's willing to write the check. He doesn't care.
No.
I get you upset because this is your benefit. This is your money that you and your mom or your mom and dad saved for you and your brothers and sisters. But have a little bit of compassion.
Sure. But also, Arif, you have to remain alert. I mean, you might want to periodically do a heavy metal test for arsenic in their bloodstream, because you don't know where people are coming from. You don't know. And in this day and age, I think ultimately you have to protect your loved one.
Yes.
And you don't want to drive somebody who they really care for out of their life. I mean, that's inappropriate also. But your guard has to be up, and if you're not defensive sometimes and leery sometimes, you could there could be harm caused to the person you really care about. So just be aware that, like you say, it's a fine line, and what direction do you go? You don't know, but you have to find good judgment, ask a lot of questions, I think, to figure that out.
A client was married for 48 years, and his wife passed away. And he still cries when he talks about her. It's really sweet, actually. He was really in love with her. And it was such a beautiful thing. And she had cancer and died rather rapidly, within a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 years later, and he met this lady. And he had accumulated numerous homes and quite a bit of accounts, money in retirement accounts and other places. He just doesn't spend it. He lives very modestly and reasonably, has everything he needs, except companionship.
Mm-hmm.
And he had one son. So what he did is a prenuptial agreement.
Oh, there you go.
And he said to his son, son, you're busy, you have a career, and you know that how much I loved and missed your mom. And the son I think he's in his early 30s. The son said, yeah, Dad, this is listen, I know it's not easy. Thank God I haven't had to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that it's an emotional side on both sides, but did a prenuptial, so she gets a house and a certain account with a certain amount of money in it. The son gets the rest of the properties and the rest of the money, and they just for as long as he's alive,
that's right.
He'll have companion. He's young and a young 72-year-old, so he's healthy enough to be active, and so they enjoy life.
And that's wonderful. It really is. You have to think of the human side first.
Yes.
Before anything else.
And I'm always the first to tell you, watch out for the, quote, gold diggers, right? We used to call them that, gold diggers. Watch out for on both sides, men and women. Watch out for those folks that are coming along and trying to take your inheritance I get it, and I certainly want you to do that. But please don't forget that there's a humanity that exists with your mom, your dad, that can't be measured, with you seeing them 4 times a month or 6 times a year. When you talk to them on the phone, it gets lonely, especially when you had somebody in your home for so many years, right? I mean, we all look around and look for that other person.
That's right. You really and siblings, daughters, sons, they don't understand that.
No, and I get the emotional side of it, but if I can give you one thing as a gift, especially a friend of mine, his wife died. He was very close in our Bible study. He was a good man, and when his wife passed away, how much he loved her, I know, because we prayed for her, and there was cancer, and it was for a couple of years that it was a part of the plan. They were working on medical plans and doctor visits, and it was a nonstop. And then eventually she passed away. And it was a little over a year, and he met another lady. Her husband passed away, so both of them were widows and widowers. And he fell in love. And his kids still won't talk to him.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with it. Like 1 out of 4.
How selfish.
And that's what exactly. And they're all married, and they have children, and some of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them aren't married. But you say, listen, these are people who are both financially independently fine. They don't need each other's money. But because you think it diminishes your mom's. Folks, in reality, it honors.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
It honors the other person.
Absolutely does.
Because they cherish the relationship so much. Nobody thinks about replacing your. So I'm always the first to tell you, watch out for the scam. I just want you to understand that sometimes I don't want to say a business relationship, but everybody is an adult and they walk in with their eyes wide open. And if your parents earn the money, you have no right to anything.
That's
not
right.
a penny, not the house, not the retirement account, not the vase that's in the foyer. Nothing. Anything but from a penny on up is a gift.
That's right.
So allow them to live.
And part of a lot of what you do is the financial aspect of extending one's life and retirement. But the other part of that is that's financial, but the other part of that is the emotional side of what you bring to your clients as well, and assuring that they're thinking about not just the money, but also the relationship, the quality of life that is associated with that. And that's a huge and important aspect, because
That's right.
as we live, that part of it also allows us to live longer.
And I think that's the key. It's just like when people retire at 65, 70, 75, whenever they retire. If you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a place to go, somebody who's expecting you, the value of you as a person, the time, is diminished. Now, I don't think it's diminished, because I think you're still a child of God, but I still believe that you think you're diminished. Right? When people pop in and visit and they're busy, you think, well, wait a second. Why can't we go to lunch? What do you mean you're busy on Thursday at 2 o'clock? Well, all your friends are working at Thursday at 2 o'clock. Well, you're not. You don't even know if it's Thursday or Wednesday, right? Unless you have a hair appointment or a doctor appointment or... Right. So I want you to have a life that's filled with purpose, and often having somebody else in your life not just extends your life, but makes it a better time.
That's right.
Very good.
Makes it happier.
Yes. And because the financial side is so much tied, look to see the amount of packages that come in the mail. You can almost judge the value of somebody's happiness by the amount of packages of needless or unneeded things that, right? Because it's like Christmas.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
that.
I got a package yesterday.
Give me a slow day, right? If I'm bored or if I can't sleep.
I have two at home I haven't even opened.
There you go.
And I got home yesterday and there's a package in front of my door. I was so elated.
Yeah, you feel like, oh my gosh, look how special. It's like sending yourself flowers. You're like, oh my gosh, you surprised me again.
Well, mine were tennis shoes. I put them on right away and started walking around the living room, which I'm not allowed to do, with shoes on.
Let me tell you, my neighbor used to make fun of his wife. All these packages. Oh my gosh, what is she doing? And he said, the Amazon thing, and said, so he told me the other day, I heard some noise outside, so I went outside. It was late, and he's collapsing boxes and putting them in the trash. And he says, my wife keeps ordering all these things from Amazon, and I can't figure it out, and da-da-da. And he said, but these boxes are mine, because I found out the other day how easy it was. I ordered tennis shoes. I ordered socks. He goes, so I'm trying to hide the boxes before she finds out. I thought,
That's
is
too
funny.
Well, Arif, this has been very entertaining.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, guys.
Yes,
Thank you.
and very informative, too.
Yeah.
And we'll see you the next time you're on.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
Terrific. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Did you know that SCVI has the only international baccalaureate program in our community? That means that students at Santa Clarita Valley International Public Charter School can participate in very rigorous classes run by highly trained and skilled international teachers. They work with kids to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners. Students with IB diplomas at select colleges can graduate with a full year credit at their university. Schedule a tour today online at scvi-k12.org or by calling 705-4820.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Santa Clarita Water has a long history of safe, reliable water service. SCV Water is dedicated to increasing efficiencies, protecting our vital resources, and improving their customers' experiences. That's you. Meet them at their new home on the web at yourscvwater.com. There you can find the latest news, rebates, and much more. That's your scvwater.com. They can't wait to serve you.
There's a very good reason Gilbertson and LeCornu have been voted Santa Clarita's #1 orthodontist for 8 years in a row.
There's a lot of orthodontists in our community and a lot of really great doctors.
Dr. Megan LeCornu.
Artistically, I like nice big smiles. Those are the smiles that wow people. So in all my treatment planning, I don't do a one-size-fits-all. I look at the patient's facial structure and I match their smile to their facial structure.
Dr. Megan LeCornu of Gilbertson and LeCornu.
Embrace your smile.
EmbraceYourSmile.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM-1220, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And our guest now is Kim Wall, an alternative medicine advocate. I said it without halters.
Barb, you're getting so good at this,
Whoa.
man. I'm going to have to hire you when I go out in the world as my PR lady. Hi, guys.
Hey, Kim, how you doing today?
I am doing really well. Thank you very much. Here to, when we went off the air last month, me and Barb had a story she wanted to tell about CBD, and we didn't get to tell it. So we were gonna jump in this session and talk about it, and I brought some basic information for my fans here, but I will have to say, like I was telling Barb and Dr. Dorio before we started, you know, I've been involved in understanding the cannabis as a plant and a medicine for many years, and I even learn new things. And I think it's really exciting the more we bring this knowledge out there and we educate people from the most simplistic aspect of it, like what is a cannabinoid system, where is it? Well, it is prevalent in the brain. That's where we see the most receptors. And it's interesting because the patent our government does hold on it is for that therapy. But it's really interesting what I learned in just, you know, my everyday rabbit hole journeys was talking about the CBD receptors in the brain. There's CBD receptor 1 and CBD receptor 2 in the body. And what's really interesting about this is the CBD receptor 1 has a specific regulation for the body. So what that does is it regulates memory, mood, sleep, appetite, and pain. Okay? And then the CBD2 receptors in the body deal with anti-inflammatory response and immune function. So you can see where we want the science and we want this research to go is looking at the strains, what's available and what strains, you know, because there's so many aspects to this. And then one of the research studies I was reading was talking about using full spectrum cannabis, and we can see why in this aspect, because part of it, the CBD aspect, actually deals with your immune response in dealing with cancer. And the THC, the literature on THC shows it actually reduces tumor cell size and prevents tumors or cancer from spreading in the body. And that was actually a study that was done here in the United States of America in 1974. The National Institute of Health wanted to prove that cannabis was dangerous to our bodies. So they got the Medical College of Virginia to do a study on it. And they wanted to show that it damaged our immune system and would make us sick. And what the study proved was the exact opposite. Actually found a cure in lung cancer, breast cancer, and leukemia just within the specific study. So there's so much out there that way. It's just about bringing this information together. And with anything in our world, when we don't understand it, the more communication we bring to it and the more knowledge to the language, then we're going to get the straight answers, and maybe we can get somewhere. Because, you know, when I see stuff like this, and that's a crazy thing. Like, in just doing the list, you know, and going through some of the modalities, you know, you think of the physicalness of what hemp brings to the world. With the fibers, the fact that you can use it for fabric, we can use it for building materials, plastics, we can use it for fuel, we can use it for food and protein, paint, so many aspects. But that's just the outside. The inside aspect for a human, and it's interesting because we do manufacture cannabinoids in our body at a certain level. That's why we have those receptors. And cannabinoids are found in other foods. They're just most prominent in the cannabis, and that's and that's why people will go to that. But looking at things like nausea and vomiting, it can be used for appetite. It can be used for pain and anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, Alzheimer's, actually can be used for people that are on opioid drugs for withdrawal symptoms to get them off of opiates. Epilepsy, autoimmune diseases, and just the function of our autoimmune system to get it to work better. Cancer, brain trauma, depression. It deals with the autonomic nervous system. It deals with your energy and your balance, memory, metabolism, sleep. And one of the things it actually talked about was your circadian rhythms. So we're just now beginning to understand this. The cannabinoid system was discovered in 1990. So this is new science. What's sad is we don't have the scientists right alongside this without federal regulation or pharmaceutical ownership trying to own what this science is. Because it was crazy when I did this. Hemp has been around. I mean, I did this thing, and I almost printed it out for you, but it was like 10,000 years history of hemp. And it went back to it's
been around for
the first
ages.
Yes, the first agricultural product that we had as a world was this, because we were so dependent on it. But what really gets me excited is when we see the benefits that it could do for the mentals. When I look down this list, do you not see seniors written all over this list?
Absolutely.
I mean, could the title not be Senior Symptoms? Seriously.
Absolutely.
And it can be something as simple as taking a little soft gel pill a couple times a day. And I will say, I had to go in, I was telling you guys, I had to go in and get an MRI done the other day. And I never had anything like that done before. Last time I saw a doctor, was when I peed in a cup 30 years ago, I don't play that, But, I did go and get myself some very concentrated CBDs because I was a little scared. I was a little anxious getting inside that thing. And I can't lay flat on my back without excruciating nerve pain. And I had to lay on my back for a half an hour and not move.
Yes.
So I'm going to say I medicated myself up for it, and it was smooth sailing. It was great. And it really, because I'd never taken that much. How much pain relief I got. I was shocked. So again, it's a learning experience. I hope that some of these companies like CW Hemp, who's out there, who's one of the the main ones in the industry, they got great products. They've got liquid tinctures you can do. They've got capsules you can do. They've got creams. They've got balms. They got stuff for your pets. They're a really amazing company, and they've been out there in the industry, for the forefront of it. But they're bringing high-quality products, and something as simple as their capsules, like my daughter uses for menstrual issues, instead of using a ibuprofen or a whatever, And what's nice is when I read through these symptoms of this and thinking if my daughter is using this, even in high doses, cannabinoids do not affect your brain. CBCs don't affect the cannabinoids the way THC does. CBD is, if you look at it, it calms the nervous system. It allows it to fire better. It deals with the inflammation and the immune response. So many people today and so many seniors have such chronic inflammation, arthritis, bronchitis, sinusitis, itis. Blood pressure is an inflammatory response. Think about how something like this could help with you sleeping better, affecting your mood and being something. And again, as we talked about it, and when I did the research on that one site with the 10,000 years, it was really crazy to see how how we lost cannabis in the United States of America, and how Big Pharma got their hand in there and let's just say in an odd way, tricked the doctors into what they were doing with the marijuana tax of 1937. And then coming in and removing it from the pharmacopoeia the next year, saying it has no value. But then the year following that, our own government, our own military is using it for helping people with brain traumas or exposed to toxins. So it's I guess because it's a plant and the powers that be know we can't patent that, it makes it difficult. But as Americans, we can make sure that those people that are in power to let them know our opinions. People that have had positive experiences, let people understand what those things have been. Like Barb, you talk about your experience and how it changed your life. Walking in here just now, there's a little girl here from the valley with 3-year-old little girl, 2-year-old little girl with a brain tumor, and how cannabis has changed her life. And that's what we need to hear. We need to have the stories. You know what? If I choose to go get an opiate pain pill because that's what I want, so be it. But I should have just as much of a right to go to that doctor and have him say, here is a CBD, take one of these little gummy bears 3 times a day in this milligram, and let me know how you are, and let's go with that and monitor that. And my insurance should pay for that like it pays for the pharmaceutical. Again, a system that's broken. But I think the part that's exciting and for people to do is that it is there. And CBDs are legal. CBDs are available in health food stores and other places. They might be lower milligrams than you might see in some of your dispensaries that deal with a little bit more of the medical, the higher milligrams. But like I said, a lot of these, again, if you see some of the dynamics that it deals with, it's super beneficial just on a well-being. I mean, to think that it can help with balance and things like that. I mean, it affects so many aspects of our brain that, it's kind of like a no-brainer that we should be consuming some.
It saved me from excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And I was prescribed the hydrocodone.
Right.
And my son came down and visited. He said, "Mother, that stuff will kill you, literally.
One pill at a time, yes.
Destroy your functional parts of your body." And she said, he said, let me bring you down some CBD pills.
And it has destroyed many people's lives.
Oh,
because
culture.
now they're
Look at the
addicted
epidemics.
addicted to opiates, and they're dying from that addiction. And it's a continuing battle. And despite the fact that we've had cannabinoids for 10,000 years, that's not been legal, and that's been where the hands of mostly pharmaceutical companies have gotten into the till and said, we're going to have this cannabis or marijuana as a Schedule 1 medication, and that Schedule 1 by the FDA says that it's going to be restricted, and there's not going to be any research. So we in the United States have delegated that to other countries, and of course I think our research abilities are much better than around the world. So
for sure.
And we digoxin, people know about that for the heart. That comes from a plant. And what we did was we extracted out the components from that and give it as a pill. And, we can do the same thing as well and make it more exact and use it in appropriate studies for our patient's sake and know how to give it with less addicting qualities. But we got to change that.
And
the first thing we do is change it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2.
Exactly.
And, when we look across the United States and we have to uphold the federal laws, and we talked heavily about that last night.
That have been funded by Big Pharma, because that's where you got to really follow that trail to know how we got here. And Big Pharma has had their hand on the whole journey, and it's time to hold them accountable. It's time to hold the powers that be.
Nobody does, though, Kim.
Well,
that's
and you know
problem.
what? But that's the whole thing, because we all think we can't do it. But you know what? We can do it, and we have to do it one at a time and do. Yes, the stigmatism and everything that's out there. When you look at what cannabis is as a plant, what hemp is what it was to our country, our world would be such a different world today if we had that as our plant, as that is our major agriculture that we were using for food and medicine and everything else. And let me tell you, part of the whole thing that gets your goat in this is they knew in creating those drugs that they were highly addictive. That was part of the benefit of the drug, because now I've created a customer on one level, or trust me, that's what it's about. Yeah, they've been caught now that they've created an epidemic of these drug addicts. Big Pharma's been caught with their hand in the jar, and they're backpedaling now. We're not prescribing as much, but they created that monster. This is not addictive. This works in the opposite effect in the brain. The CBDs actually, do you know that if you went into the whatever, like you were saying, let's isolate one part of the drug. We don't want to isolate one part, because full spectrum, we don't know how that is. But the CBD can actually bring down the high of the THC. Interesting if you think about that. So again, I'm afraid my person's going to be high, or this is going to happen. But if we understand what the mechanism is, and I'm giving you a CBD strain at a certain percentage to a THC strain, it's not going to affect your high. It's not going to affect you that way in the brain. You're not going to get high. It's going to, like we said, it's going to affect the pain receptors. And if you had cancer, you'd want some of the THC to kill the cancer cells. So again, it's understanding the full spectrum, and that's what we need.
The research to be able to
and
figure
CW
that out,
hemp,
we're not doing any of that.
Well, CW hemp they are one of the ones leading the industry. They're the ones that created the Charlotte Web strain for the little girl that had the seizures.
I use that every day.
It's my daughter swears by it for cramps, and it's saving me in my pain right now with all my nerve pain. It's saving me. I shout out to CW Hemp. Grassroots in Pasadena is doing a lecture there on June 5th. If anybody's interested at 7 o'clock, I'm going because I want to learn more. But they are one of the ones, Dr. Dorio, that are in the industry, and they are doing the research, and they are putting their dollars into it to create this database. The thing is we've got to stay strong and support those companies so Big Pharma doesn't take them down.
That's right, and that's the way the road is going to go.
It is, and it's just like our food and our farmers. Our farmers lost to Monsanto's. Not to say we can't take it back, and states are doing it one state at a time. Same thing with this. We just need to be able to go in and state that and be able to go up against. I mean, if I had the money, it would be a lawsuit against somebody when you read some of this stuff. Because oh boy, they do a study in 1997. They do this study on the Institute on the safety of it and everything. And he said, well, we don't understand it, but it affects the immune system. We should do further study. Well, the only thing that went to the Congress decided, no, we're not going to do anything more. 1997, we're not going to do anything more. We don't need to research it. Well, who owns them? And this corruption is not today, and this has been going on for a very long time. Yeah. So, we want to wake up and we want to take back. I want quality of life. That's what I'm looking for.
So real quick, our listeners are going, you mentioned hemp and cannabis, the difference between those terms.
This is a way kind of to explain it. It's like apples, okay? There's all kinds of apples. Mm-hmm. So there are all kinds of cannabis, and cannabis is that. Mm-hmm. It used to be called Indian hemp, but cannabis indica, cannabis sativa, cannabis arabicus, I think it is. I've learned also yesterday a strain. They're different strains, and within those strains, now a lot of things have been adulterated because of the chemicals and the things that the industry's been trying to get high THC all these years. But within those strains, each one's going to have different components. So a cannabis indica is actually going to have higher CBD and make you more sleepy and be for more pain, where cannabis sativa is going to be more of a mind high. It's going to get you up. It's going to get you motivated. It's going to work in the body, the mood, that thought process in that way. So they work in different areas, and that's where the science needs to come in. Mm-hmm. And that's where some of the people that have done it, like some of the soldiers that have used it for post-traumatic, have seen that this strain didn't work. It made my symptoms worse. This strain worked great. Why? Because this was high in CBD and not THC, because the THC might have aggravated that, or vice versa.
That's right. That's right. And do we need to take a break? We do. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
What to do, what to do. Your child's birthday is almost here. Put your birthday plans on ice. Ice Station Valencia. Throw a hassle-free party for 10 or more with an Ice Station party package. Public skating, rental skates, group lesson, birthday cake, pizza, soft drinks, party favors, and a decorated party area. Your party hostess will have a gift for your birthday child. For your fun ice skating party, call 775-8686 and keep your party cool. Ice Station Valencia, across the street from Valencia High.
What's the perfect way to end the weekend? Sunday brunch at Salt Creek Grill, of course. Wind down with delectable dishes off Salt Creek's award-winning menu and enjoy a glass of champagne, because after all, you deserve it. Make Sunday brunch at Salt Creek Grill a new tradition with your family and friends. Salt Creek Grill in Valencia on Town Center Drive in front of the movie theater. For reservations, 222-9999 or go online to saltcreekgrill.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Move on from what's familiar and discover what's possible in your relationships. This is Jasmine Urbina, inviting you to tune in to The Inspirational Parent as my dad and I tap into a fresh perspective on modern parenting relationships and dish out the magical ingredients for effective parenting exclusively on KHTS. Catch us live every Friday on The Inspirational Parent from 12 to 1 or download our podcast at hometownstation.com.
Now FM, 98.1 FM, and AM-1220. Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host Dr. Jean Dorio on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Kim Wall, an alternative medicine advocate. And we have been talking about cannabinoids.
And it is cannabis. It's not marijuana. Marijuana was a word that was invented to disgrace it, to make it seem like it was something bad. And it actually goes because of the Mexican immigration in the early 20s, whatever, when they brought marijuana, when they brought cannabis in, they smoked it recreationally. We used it in the United States of America since the 1700s for medicine. We didn't use it as a recreational. But when the Mexicans that immigrated in brought it that way, and people kind of saw that, the whole smoking of the hashish and all that kind of started, then it created it. So marijuana is Mary and Juan, the two most common Spanish names put together. That's how they came up with it. Then they came up with the demonization of it, calling it devil's weed and reefer madness and all these things. But again, if we look at who paid for that marketing, who paid for that information, that was done by William Randall Hearst, because he was in charge of all the newspaper trees, the manufacturing of newspaper for the newspaper through the trees. Well, we know we can get so much more paper out of hemp than we'll ever get out of the tree per acreage. But he didn't want to lose his millions and millions of acres he owned here and lose that paper right. So he went after them. Same thing with DuPont. DuPont had just created plastic, polyester. Wow, look at this magical thing. We want to take, again, all these chemicals we've introduced into our world and into our thing. It's heartbreaking. But the thing is, we can turn that around. And just because our presidents and our government and all these people, like, what really got me was like George W. Bush. He was one of the ones, because it's on and it's medical's okay. And California was actually the first state in the union to get rid of marijuana back in 1915. We were the first, which is really interesting when you look at the history. We were also the first to bring it back in 1996. So we woke up a little late, but hopefully we'll do sooner. But Bush actually put in plan that they wanted to punish both the doctor and the patient. So that's where the stigmatism really got hard in the United States, was there. And that, again, what do they use to control us? The fear base. Now, you as a doctor,
common.
you
Very
bet.
common.
Now, I'm as a patient, I'm being fear-based. Now, you as a doctor is being fear-based. Because don't you dare step out of status quo or quality care that we say is right and use something that's,
Well, and one doctor in West Los Angeles that I know of, he prescribed marijuana and lost his license for a year. They went after him and said, this is not within the line of what we are doing and what the government wants, and they just took his license away to punish him for a year.
And again, the government, that's who we need to hold accountable.
That's right.
That's where those congressmen and those senators and these legislators and all these lobbyists, we need to cut their little strings and slap their little hands and tell them to get their hands out of our stuff. And we need to go back to what is going to make our country strong. Because, even the heartland, people are so uneducated when it comes to what we're even growing in the United States for food. We think, we grow feed for animals is what we grow. We don't grow food. We import everything. We need to bring everything back in here. Even the hemp that we get, because cannabis grown here, again, the strains of what it is, the hemp we can get from other countries. But we don't know how it's grown. Is it organic? Is it grown in dirty soil?
Right.
We don't know. So again, we want this, but we want this in American soil. And it is happening. In the East, there is, in fact, I think in the one little sheet I gave you guys, it shows you a list in the back of all the states in the United States of America now that are allowed to grow industrial hemp or have cannabis laws. And that's what we just need to do. We just need to get that knowledge out there and start educating people on the simplicity of it. Because that one's for you, boss. The simplicity of what it can do for us on so many different levels. And they're, like I said, so that's it. We want to make sure, Hemp Week is something they do every single year. I think it's in July. We can look into that. Educate yourself on what's going on, the people that are in the industry. Again, CW Hemp is one of my most favorites because, like I said, they spend the money. They have great people out there researching the whole world, not just here, because this is so big everywhere else in the world as well. We've been in a stagnant hole. The rest of the world hasn't. So we just want to wake up and get back to where other countries are with medicinal use. And again, just make sure Big Pharma and Monsanto doesn't tie our hands and deny us the things in life. How would you feel if they told you the only thing you can have for pain is my opioid drug?
But Big Pharma is governed by big money, and that's really where our problem arises. And
exactly.
until we change the, as I mentioned earlier, Schedule 1 to Schedule 2 and put cannabis into that arena, it's just not going to happen. And that has to change, because then we can do research in this country, appropriate research for our patients and our loved
And that
ones.
law that was trying to go through in New York, they're having a hard time because Big Pharma's throwing all kinds of money at it. They don't want it to change. But how can our government hold a patent on a Class 1 scheduled substance? You can't. So.
But, they're doing it, Kim. And
our government does a lot of things that how do I politely say this? Tick me off. But it's an old system that needs to change, and I have hope that there are inspirational people out there and good-hearted people out there that are going to, put the knowledge out there, put the information, put the hard work into it, and throw that rock into the water and create some ripples.
Absolutely.
Always a great conversation, Kim.
Love you guys.
You're putting it on our radio show today, the Senior Hour. Appreciate
My pleasure.
coming
Anytime.
on, and welcome to come back again and have this similar discussion. We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go on and enhance your quality of life.
Absolutely.